Sup everyone, welcome back to another video, and today I'm actually here on stream right now, so everything I'm saying right now it's having live feedback. Of course, I'm not going to show you guys that because some of the people in chat could be a little less than normal, if the best way to put it. But for sure, we're definitely streaming. If you guys never check out my live streams, you can definitely influence a lot of what I say in these videos by having the discussion with me. We're at the end of the discussion here, so we're just kind of finalizing everything. We're going to be talking about this. I gave some examples, and the people in chat were kind of bouncing ideas back and forth with me. In the end, we've essentially come to the conclusion of how things are. Okay, so we're going to be talking about some misconceptions I believe in the community between categorizing casuals and hardcore players, as well as, you know, what it really means when Hoyoverse gave out those statements, touching on a couple things that other streamers have reacted to, mainly MTash and Techno, because that's the two that I've seen people quote and ask me to comment on the most. So to categorize between casual and hardcore players, one of the things that I find that a lot of content creators and just players in general even miscategorize themselves. Honestly, I don't feel like a lot of you guys are actually hardcore. Just because you're on YouTube, just because you min-max your teams, just because you watch all the guide videos and content doesn't immediately make you a hardcore player, right? What you do in the game doesn't make you hardcore. Now, a lot of you guys will be like, "Or that is hard cap. You are smoking some weird." Like, if I 36-star the Abyss every single run with my meta team, I'm a hardcore player. Like, no casual player is going to be doing this. But you guys are too focused on the extremities of both sides. On one side, you guys think the casual players only know how to like pick their nose with their feet and eat it, then pick flowers and sing songs with Klee and lullabies to Chi-Chis and stuff. But you guys have to understand, yes, those players by certain metrics are casuals. They don't care about completing the Abyss. They don't care about getting Primo Gem rewards. They don't care about any of the combat or whatnot. But I also know players who spend like 80 hours in the teapot every week. Are those also casual players? Right? Just because they don't do the Spiral Abyss, are those casuals? I would argue that they are much more hardcore than people who 36-star the Abyss. I know players whose teapot looks like a different game in of itself. Just because you do the Abyss 36 stars and you cleared, you know, you got meta teams going and stuff like that, doesn't immediately make you a hardcore player, right? The content does not dictate, and what you do in the content does not dictate what type of players you are. And this is what dictates it, okay? It's your mentality towards the game. Doesn't matter if it's for combat or for characters or for lore or anything. Your mentality towards the game will dictate what type of player you are. And with chat, I gave the example of two different players, player A and player B. Okay, player A 36-star the Abyss every single patch, so does player B. Both of them average around 40 hours per patch on the Abyss, or per Abyss iteration, whatever you guys want to think. All right, 40 hours. Player A cleared the Abyss with National and Hu Tao. Player B cleared it with Eula and Yoimiya. Let's just say for patch 3.0, right? That's what they both use. Now, the reason player A cleared the Abyss was because they just wanted the Primo Gems. They couldn't care less, and their national team wasn't the best. The Hu Tao team wasn't the best, like not the most well built, but they still did it because they looked up a guide and they were like, okay, you know, run the national team is really good, and then run Hu Tao team's good. Look, there, simple enough. They did it. Done. Second player couldn't care less for the Primo Gems, right? They are a bit of a spender. They spend money. They can get a bunch of different characters. They actually raise up a bunch of different characters. They do have the national team. They also have a C2 Raiden. They didn't use them. They chose to run Eula and Yoimiya because they now want to build up these characters, especially since they've been ignored sitting in the storage. By definition, all right, player A is not a hardcore player. Now you guys may wonder, like, oh, wait, Walrus. No, player B is not the hardcore player. Like, what you mean? Player B doesn't even care. You see, I think player A isn't a hardcore player. It's because they are caring only because the rewards there are tied to Primo Gems, right? They're literally making an exchange with Hoyoverse. Now, player B, this psychopath, is willingly put himself through this piece of content without even caring about whatever the hell the rewards are. And this is where we have a problem, is that player A is heavily incentivized to clear the content. They're the kind of players who will look up all the guides. They've optimized all the team because they're driven by Primo Gems. Because Primo Gems will eventually lead them to their savior and salvation, waifu A or waifu B, right? That's why they're doing it. Their end goal it's like so far ahead. They have to exchange their time into abyss clears into primo gems, which then eventually translates into waifus. Player B is really doing this because they actually care. They actually care about clearing it with Eula and Yoimiya. Now, once again, then I ask you, is player A more hardcore or is player B? I think player B is more hardcore. And this is where we kind of get the whole thing wrong. Just because you 36 star the business, you have to understand why you're doing something. Okay, and this is the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand. It's that there's a very disproportionate amount of player A even to player B. So let's not even continue to mention the rest of the players who don't even touch Spiral Abyss. I think Hoyoverse fully understands if they want to release a new piece of content, any similar resemblance to Spiral Abyss, maybe not similar to Spiral Abyss, maybe just combat-based endgame that requires you to fight difficult enemies, right? To fight enemies, they have to associate that with rewards. And looking at it currently, even the amount of casual players, I'm going to start calling player A, the one with the national and Huta team, I'm going to start calling them casuals. Even the casual players are starting to partake in the Abyss lessons, meaning that the rewards associated with Abyss is not enough to incentivize these players to continue clearing it. And that's not even talking about the whole bunch of other players who refuse to touch the Abyss to begin with. Now, when Tectone said, hey, why don't we just make new content? And I think players don't even want rewards, like no rewards. Just make new combat content with no rewards. Realistically, thinking from the masses of the player side, do you think player A is going to go now to this new content, clear it for no rewards? Honestly, I find it very, very difficult to believe that the category within player A is going to attempt this new difficult content for no rewards. Although I do want to say they will likely clear it once, just for the sake of the experience, because that is a good and justifiable exchange. When something new comes out, nobody's ever done it, you will try it just to try it. And once you clear it, then that thing loses all meaning and purpose once there are no rewards. Maybe the first clear has rewards, so you get double of it, right? You're like, oh my god, I get to experience something new and claim rewards for it. And then once you've done it once, never again, no more rewards. Tectone was saying people would do it even with no rewards. Like, oh, we would do it with even with no rewards. But that's what I'm saying. Player B will do it. Player B, the psychopath, the crazy person, would do it. Like, they would put in 40 hours every Abyss iteration, or maybe more than that. I know somebody in chat was saying they run every single day Spiral Abyss with a different team out. Like, I'm not calling people out or anything. I'm just saying, like, that's a lot of dedication. That is, by definition, a hardcore player, because their intentions and their motivation towards the game is driven by the fact that they just want to play the game. They want to experiment with the game, not because they want primo gems. If you are playing this game, like, honestly, answer me this question. If you are playing the game, looking up guides, and you're like not even going into min-max yourself and figure all the intricacies out, studying the game, learning the game, clearing puzzles by yourself, right? Finding all the animalculus, geoculus by yourself, you look up guides for everything. Are you really a hardcore player? That's like saying if you go into an exam unprepared and then you just look over to the next person and you copy every single one of the answers, right? You see what I'm saying? Like, are you hardcore? Like, when people would be like, oh my god, that guy is hardcore, like, look at him go. No, nobody's gonna call you hardcore. You went in and you copied the person next, you copy the answers from the person next to you. There's nothing hardcore about that, okay? That's not a hardcore player. So what's the motivation then? Because you don't want to fail. You don't want to fail the class. You go in, you didn't study. You just copy, like, the person's right there. And what's even more insane in Genshin is it's not even punishable. In fact, it's actually encouraged. Hoyoverse has no problem with you copying all this stuff and just playing the game like that. Like, they don't care, right? Let's say it costs $200 to enter the exam, and you pay $200. You come in, you already paid the $200. They don't care. Like, I don't know. It's kind of a similar situation. So player A is by definition not hardcore. Player B is hardcore. And player B are also the same type of players who are advocating for new types of content with no rewards associated, and they think that's a good thing. Whereas they are failing to understand that player A would stop partaking in this type of content if it gave no rewards, because that is mainly why they are even doing the content. So at the end of the day, I do think that Hoyoverse, through sheer numbers and metric, understands that without any of the incentives, and they don't want to give any more, that the new content is essentially dead on arrival. Nobody wants to put in the effort and time designing something that they know will fail. And I am telling you right now, new content, whether it's similar to Spiral Abyss or not similar to Spiral, the new endgame content associated with combat will be dead on arrival if it's not tied with sizable rewards, especially if it's more time demanding than the Spiral Abyss. And think about this, on top of Spiral Abyss, you have to now also do the new stuff. Every single iteration, every single rotation. I mean, for player A, it's just about copying and pasting. There's gonna be people being like, hey, the new content just dropped, here's the most optimal team you can use to clear it on day one, and you're gonna be able to get all the rewards, and just follow this, subscribe, click here. They're gonna do it, right? Player A is just okay, I guess I'm gonna clear it in one go. Player B is gonna go in completely blind and like just smash everything with their C6R5, right? They're not gonna really care and do it if there's no rewards. So I hope this kind of clears things up. I know I'm like siding with Hoyoverse here. I'm not defending them. I'm just trying to make sense for you guys, like why they're saying this. It's not because they are lazy or it's because there's not a big enough demand. If the demand was there, Hoyoverse knows they're gonna make money, drive up sales, Dawei's gonna be able to get a new yacht. Do you think they're not gonna do it? If the money is there, they're gonna do it, because it's not gonna make them the money. People don't care enough. The players who are still playing this game, the vast majority of them don't care enough for Hoyoverse to go ahead and make something like this. At the end of the day, don't blame Hoyoverse, blame your peers. Look around you, right? Like, go into other people's worlds, like, hey dude, listen, why aren't you supporting this? You should be looking around you, because the real reason Hoyoverse isn't giving us this type of content is because the players who are still playing this game and the newer players who are coming into this game, Hoyoverse likely already know they're not going to care enough about this stuff for Hoyoverse to design it for us. Is it going to be fun? Would it be amazing to have a new piece of content just lying around for you to play if you want to? Of course! Who wouldn't want that? But at the end of the day, Hoyoverse is the one that gets to call the shots. Hoyoverse is the one who's going to be deciding whether or not they want to make. And if you can't convince Hoyoverse, doesn't matter how right you are, doesn't matter how much we deserve this, doesn't matter how much we've spent in this game, doesn't matter how much the game is success rides upon its core player base. It doesn't matter. If our voice really mattered, then Hoyoverse wouldn't have had to come out and spell it out for us, because they literally been dropping hints left and right and saying we're not making any like permanent content, period. But they actually had to come out and spell it out for us. It's like, yo, just give up. Because Hoyoverse also knows, right? Get this. This is the last thing. I promise. I'll shut up after this. This is the last thing. Hoyoverse also knows that you're still going to see 6 or 5 their new characters, even if they're underperforming. You're still going to be hopelessly addicted. You're still going to come on, burn down your resin. And once 3.2 drops, this is just going to disappear, right? It's going to be like it never happened. Nobody's going to talk about it. All the content creators are going to move on to more clickbait content for Nahida, and they're going to still see 6 everything. They're going to drive the conversation in a different direction because it benefits them that way, because they get better views when they talk about Nahida in 3.2. Right now, this thing seems like it's a driving force, right, behind all the content and stuff. But hey, let's see how many people are still talking about this once Nahida drops. I'm just saying, okay? So, thank you guys for watching, I guess, if you made it all the way to the end. And of course, thank you to chat for sticking around as usual, bouncing ideas with me. If you guys ever do want to partake in these kind of videos, feel free to drop by in the live streams, alright? Wednesdays, Saturdays, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Till next time, Rajota, stay safe. Peace, peace.